Right, so welcome to part four, and we'll continue where we left off before the last interjections for the reasons explained in the last video. Back with these again, so I'll turn on the wireframe, and these are going to need to be, they've been trimmed, so they need to be voxel remeshed. And I was talking in the last video about the I'm just going to move that down. I was talking about what resolution to have them at, so it really depends on, for all of this stuff now. And we can see here, like, your resolution, it depends on whether you're going to go down to the texture, the detail. Like, if you go close to that, it's quite low res here. Like, obviously, it's for print, as I keep saying, so it's going to be out here, but it's going to depend on a few things. How much detail do you want? Do you want to go down to the texture level? How high is your poly count going to be in your scene? And if it gets too high, you can start to finish pieces and decimate them down to lower the overall poly count, things like that. So it depends. There's no perfect poly count. So for these here, it's mostly going to be trimming the edges, but I'd probably like to put a texture pass on pretty much everything. And some parts I'll add in detail locally with the dynamic topology for parts that I really want to have nicer detail, like the floor and the destroyed section at the back. So yeah, so with those things in mind, I'll just see now. I'm probably aiming for maybe around. These are all one piece here. No, these are separate pieces. It's just the back and the front. So, as I said before as well, they're going to be getting destroyed at the back. So what I will probably do there is I will just, yeah, I'll it doesn't make sense to do that, to sculpt them if they're going to be getting destroyed again. So, and they're not going to be seen anyway. And I think I said in an early video, like, because it's so quick to do here in VR, I'll just do it all without using mirror and everything. But for the sake of time here, like, I'll probably just do one side here on these arches and everything, and then copy them across. So for this, I'm going to, so I can get more resolution as well on each of these individual pieces then. So for the moment, until you duplicate them, of course, I'm not sure if how instances are treated. I think Shapelab is built on Unity, so direct to game engine, obviously. So geometry clones, or should be instances in memory, but I'm not sure exactly. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, so I'll just go into the carve and just get rid of these on the backside, and same for these ones here. Sorry, I just want to go back to our pointer and just get rid of these as well, and pick a side here. You can just do this as well. I'll copy these across from the other side when I sculpt them, and that will do. And then while I have that res, I'll just see what I need here. What do we got here? First up, 54, too low. 255, that's pretty good there. You can always, then I can voxel remesh these together here, or boolean join them together. So that's 200, let's say that's 276,000. That's 255. So let's say if I join these together, they won't be boolean. So I'll tell you what I'll do. Actually, I will it looks like they are joined together. Did I just do that? Right, so I'll go into the boolean, select 1, 2, and select union this time. And now the two of them together are only 117. So if I go back again, even though they're the same res, so you have to save. No, sorry, it's 3. You saved a bit still. It was 500,000. Saved about 150. So you could go a bit higher again then, now that they're boolean together. And I'll do the same with these ones. So I'll voxel remesh them first, get around the same with that, and then if I join the two of them together, Sorry, not join them together. If I boolean them, 1, 2, union. I don't think that worked. I did it. I think. Oh, sorry, I did the wrong parts. So I'll try that again. Boolean 1, 2. See that? You just have to watch out for that. It's some sort of weird um, error or sort of a bug thing that the boolean has. You have to re-pick it again. I don't know why that happens. Union. And now if I select that, 4, 2, 5. So you're saving a bit there on both of them. And that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to do the same as I did here. Go to the trim tool and just start sculpting the edges. Probably go a bit higher. In fact, on these, I think I will go a bit higher on these. You could, if you wanted it as well, just sculpt one, mirror it across, and then slightly change it a little bit here and there, so you wouldn't have to do the whole thing. It's up to you, but as I said, it's so fast to do it here that I don't really mind. So I'm just gonna maybe pump that up a bit more. That's a bit too high. Like that, this isn't really too high. Like you know, you could go higher if you want. Depends what you're doing. Like if you're baking these meshes down to normal maps, obviously you don't want all that crunchiness. You want to go as high as possible, but you have to bear in mind like that we're doing this for print here, and you know we're going to be way out here. As I know I keep saying that, but that's that's what you just have to keep that in mind. So I'll go down a little bit. And for these edges as well, like this is it's a little bit soft. You have to go up with the strength for this. I find the trim to for some reason the strength is tied to the sharpness, but because these brushes seem to build up to the full power rather than just give you full power straight away. But it's just something I found with the trim brush, with all the brushes actually in Shapelab. You can see the way it builds up before it gets to the maximum. And like this part here, you can see here there's a tiny gap there for print, and that'll sort of fuse together in the print, so be no harm to just pull that in. And then if you go inside, you can see that's crossing over there, so that will make sure at the back as well. Once you boolean it together at the end, that one's okay. Just bring that across a bit, just to be on the safe side. It's just well, not the safe side. It's not not dangerous or anything, but it's just for the just make it easier at the end. If you just won't be one extra thing to fix when you're getting ready for print. Yeah, it's still, I think actually it's still a little bit crunchy actually. I'm gonna go a bit higher than that actually. I'm gonna go higher. Like as I said there, like if you're baking down to normal maps, not unusual to go up to 3 million or something for these and then decimate them down. Oops, wrong brush. It's a bit, yeah, it's a little bit too soft. I'm going to keep going because you're not really going to notice it. We just give it a quick sweep with the smooth, which isn't a bad idea anyway when you're doing trim dynamic sort of stuff, so it doesn't have to deal with it in a very sharp corner. It has an easier time with sort of slightly smoothed or rounded corners, and also then you're not going to be left with any really sharp corners that I keep talking about. So yeah, that's fine there now. I'll just go over that again just to sharpen it up, some of the bits. It has, I think I might have showed it in the last video there with that flying buttress thing I did there, but this other mode here to keep edges, sort of a polishing tool, but not really. It's kind of like a planer. It leaves weird sort of facets, so it's not really like H polish and ZBrush. Depends what you're doing with it, but yeah, it leaves these kind of fat. It's more like a planer, halfway between a planer, a plane brush planer. So yeah, that's not too bad there. I'll just switch back to dynamic, because we've quite a bit to get through here. So I'm not going to take I'm going to be too. I'll go fast, but try not to be too sloppy. And as I'm always going on about, like this stuff is just so nice to do. It actually makes it fun doing this sort of stuff in VR. You just get lost in it, and you don't really. It doesn't seem tedious or anything, you know. It's just because it's so easy to do. So the navigation, as I mentioned in the last one of the other videos, like it really adds to the whole thing. It's just navigation is so fast to do. You can see the bits there at the bottom sticking out, but as I said, that'll all be trimmed at the end in the final sort of print prep stages. You could do it now as well, obviously, to save poly count as well. There'll be no harm, but I'll leave that up to you. I'm trying to hit most of the edges, but not make it too uniform, or too repetitive, or try to skip bits as well. Just whatever, you can just take it as fast, as slow as you like. But it's a standard sort of this trim dynamic on the corners thing. It's a very standard sort of technique in sculpting anything like this, sort of metal, stone, or whatever. So yeah, we'll go with that, and then I might just hit this all with, like I did with the other one. What res are we at there? I'm gonna go up higher there with that. 425, we go up higher. Probably too high, 3 million way too high. Oh yeah, because I think I boosted it up for the other one. I want to get it maybe around 1. That'll do there. And then we can just give it a quick sweep of the smooth. Maybe this one as well. Maybe this would be a time here to I'll do that one now. What's that? Is that one done as well? Get this. I'll do this. Finish this first. And then something's peeking through there. Yeah, I'll just move. I'm just going to grab the move. Just move these in. Let's see there where the gap there, but that's not going to matter. That will when this all gets boolean together, that other part of the main building there is penetrating through it, so it'll be fine when it gets a boolean. Same on this side here. And none over that side. And I wonder, you could always, let me see, maybe you can probably use a bit of inflate just to join them back together. And then I'll do this other side first and then remesh it again, or Fox will remesh it again. So inflate, and then Fox will remesh, and that should tidy that up there. And back to trim. Oh yeah, wireframe off. I'll just go a bit quicker on this one. You can also, with this brush, you can do it sort of freehand, or you can turn on this snap to the surface. But then that's handy if you want to do like continuous sort of bevels that are quite even along it. But for something like this, it's better just to leave it off. But it definitely has its uses. It's a little bit smaller. And I'm gonna speed through this. So from this point of the video, only that one, I'm just gonna speed it up there. Right, so as you saw there at the end, I just did that piece as well. Deleted the backside and I'll mirror it over. So if they're kind of getting, some of them are getting a bit soft or whatever, you can use, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. You can use just keep edges and a large size, and then you can go back over it like that on a flat surface. And you can see then that it'll tighten up. You just have to be careful with the strength and everything. If I bring the strength down, you can use that snap to surface then as well. And it just will tighten all these corners up if it's gone a bit too soft on you. But for my case here, because it's obviously the whole print thing as well, leave those details a bit larger. So I'm going to do the ground next there, just get a start on it anyway. Choose the clay brush. I have this alpha selected here, and obviously then we have to voxel remesh. Let's see how high it's going to go here. Way too high. I'll come back in later on then and raise make sure that's turned off, as I think I said, and the front faces only in an earlier video. If you're sculpting on the top, even with the front faces, sometimes it can go through if it's too thin, because in VR it's volumetric obviously, but it seems to be fine there. So I'll leave that on and just start. As I said, and the other video I think as well, I'm going to bring the ground down and build this up then in a kind of a mound. Just build it up around the base as a sort of a mound. And then I think I also mentioned, I just want to get this to penetrate through that the main structure. As I said in another video, for printing, like, you can either just take your flat base and use that to to boolean for a straight tabletop, flat tabletop piece, or else use this actual ground piece as a boolean upper end, so that your fort then will fit directly, or your bunker will fit directly on top then when you key it out. And if you go inside, then one of the fantastic things about VR, then you can go around inside and make sure that this is all penetrating through, because you can go, as close as you like. You can look right down. Maybe just let the bottom of that door, so the door can actually actually open, or else, in the middle of the battle, a load of rubble got blasted in front of the door, so it got jammed. So that's just to get a start on the floor. Maybe feather it out a bit towards the edges. As I said then, I think I said anyway in another video, you can always boolean this, make this thinner at the bottom, slice the bottom off then. See what I said about the front faces thing? So, you can easily fix that then by just slicing it off. Use that move brush trick, or even now, you can always scale it up because there's no detail on it. And then we could just slice the bottom off. So either, maybe even make that as much of a mound, or even as little of a mound as you prefer. So I'm going to leave it like that. I just need to come up a bit more here, and here in the corner. That's pretty good. So I'm going to move on now to, we can copy these over now here, because we're finished these. We can come around and just quickly add unique sort of damage with the textures then later on. So just to change it around a bit, even though, as I said, we won't see it. So I'm going to put this in Z. And yeah, that'll be getting destroyed at the back. And then that one's going to be on X. Mirror and weld. And that's pretty good there. And now, I think we'll get going on the fun part now, blasting the back out of this. And I'll use the same technique that I used here with the slime buttress, with the rock stamp. So actually, I definitely don't need that anymore, so I'll get rid of that. And I'm gonna actually, I'll do that separate. So I'm gonna have this piece, this piece, this piece. These are all selected here. These are going to be getting destroyed. So I'll do the floor separately. Yeah, so the floor is still there. So I'll just do these pieces. Maybe I'll do actually won't do. I'll just do this. I probably should make that thicker, will I? That's fine. I'm going to copy this around at the back, then you'll see what I'll do with that. I'll just chop bits off it and pile it at the ground and the bottom. I can probably I'll just get rid of this, because that is just going to be blown out anyway, so it doesn't need to be there. It'll never be seen. And then it's just really this piece then that I can get a start on it anyway, with the carve, and choose stamps. And this one was working well. And there's the thickness of the wall. So this is completely down. I did like the way the other one. Let me see. Try and kind of match it up a little bit here. And then the floor. Capping. this piece on the inside then. And I think I'd like to go a bit lower. The way I did the other one, I like the way it had the kind of sloped at the bottom. And get another piece of this. That's not too bad. I think I preferred the other one, the other version that I did, but that's not too bad. Maybe I might thicken that up a little bit. Come in then and get rid of that. Get rid of this. And then you can come in and sort of, what's that off? It's just a floating piece. Come in and give them finer sort of detail then. Like on that corner. Maybe taper it back that way. That's okay. So I need to add obviously these. So I'll grab this. I'm just gonna do it. Just gonna do a freehand. We can blast a bit out of that then as well. So pop that in there, freehand. Blast a bit out of the corner there. Let's see, get a proper angle on it. That's good. And this one, I'll just get rid of that. Get rid of this. And that's not too bad. And then I'd like to I'll clone this in place. And then, it would have been here. So then I'll just take it. I'm going to take a copy. Oh, delete it. I'll take a copy. And then I'll just chop this down. Okay, that doesn't seem to be working. I think it's probably, sometimes it can be, if it's too complicated, a boolean, I think it can have issues. Oh, I think I know what's wrong. This is this is joined together, but it's not voxel remeshed. So if I'll get rid of that. Select this and split meshes. You can see now that's two separate meshes. So now I'll use the boolean and select blue, pink, union. Yeah, and I'm getting an error here. So it might be easier to just voxel remesh that and see if I can get away with not. It doesn't really matter about losing too much detail, because I'm going to be destroying it anyway. You can always add it back, but that's pretty good. So that didn't work there, did it? Strangely enough. So join them together, voxel remesh, and now it is one piece. So I'll just break a piece off. Why is that? It's not too bad. Back to stamps. Now see how, yeah, that's good. And then I'll take more pieces here. see what I do here for it's sort of the middle piece there. Just stick it on the ground somewhere. Something similar to what I did with the other one. And as I said in one of the other videos, like you can just you can sort of spin these around then and sort of make them. You're not going to know that they're all from the same piece. And then maybe when I put texture on that there, it'll cover up that the joint. Maybe take a bit out of that. It's too thin there. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I'm not convinced it's as good as the other one, but that can often happen when you have to redo work. So yeah, not too worried about the inside. Never going to be seen. And the walls are nice and thick. So once that destruction is done there, while you have this tool, then you might as well go around and check these and see that's decent enough res. That will be 1.2 million. No, I'll bring that up a bit more actually. That's going to be way too high now, is it? Yeah. Be nice if we had there's a picker on for the brush. You can pick the res, but it'd be nice to have one as well for the voxel remesh, so you can just pick from the scene, so I can keep all these pretty much the same res. So this is going to be another case now. I'm going to go around all these pieces, this piece as well, and just voxel remesh them all. That should be okay for that, because it's, well, actually no, it's going to have textures on it and everything, so I might bring it up a bit more. I'll just see what the total scene count is now. 15 million, so 20 million that I've found is to be pretty much, starts to get a bit, a bit choppy then. Not choppy, but as I mentioned, it's saving files and opening up the outline. It can take a bit of time, so I'll keep going anyway. So all I'm going to do now is do what I did earlier on, is grab the trim and go around all these edges. So I'm going to speed this up as well, just to go around all those edges. Same with this, I'll go around this, I'll go around this, and actually maybe that's too high. What's this one here? 826. It's not too bad, because I'm going to be chipping out some of this. Switch back to here, and yeah, I'm going to go into speed up mode now. Right, so I think that's most of those kind of bits done. You could go around here and do some of these as well, but I suppose the problem, and definitely this, the bottom of that there, print wise, like you don't want anything too crazy, that's too thin or whatever that you can't catch with supports or whatever. But no harm to go around and get all these really jagged edges. When you put the texture on them as well, the texture on it, there's going to be more jaggedy edges. So maybe move that down and to make it look a bit more integrated. So what was I going to say? Another thing you might notice, like when you do that, like it doesn't really look like concrete anymore, when you chip away too much of it, even though it's stylized and we want to make them big enough that they can read from a distance. Kind of starts to look a bit like stone then rather than concrete. So that's entirely obviously subjective type of thing. But yeah, so we'll continue on. So the top of this, because we have this, you can see there's a piece right underneath that. It gives us a nice opportunity to do what we did earlier on with the layering. So we can see here there's another piece underneath, and I'm going to use the move tool, turn down the strength a bit, and just bring that out to give a bit of thickness. Bring it out there, and also what this is going to do, it's going to give us a nice bit of that natural sort of handmade kind of look. So everything's not just completely perfect, like I showed in the last video. Bring those lines, because look, nobody, especially as we said in the 40k universe where it's all slave labor, nobody's pouring this concrete 100% perfectly dead straight. There's always going to be a little bit of wavering, and especially the building's being hit by all sorts of what's that word? Um, oh, I can't think of the word, but it's basically, it was on the tip of my tongue there. Some sort of military term for it's on the tip of my tongue. Ordnance. Isn't that what it's called? Ordnance, yeah. Whatever, explosives. Anyway, we didn't do this yet, did we? That is done. So I'll just give that a little blast of smooth, take those sharp edges away, and move that out a bit. As I said, I could have made that deeper, but it doesn't really matter too much at this stage. Just for the wash, and it gets painted for the wash to go into it. And what I did on the other piece, if you were looking, the other finished piece. Sorry, actually, before I move on to that, this also leaves a nice lip here, if you see, underneath. When I move this out, it also leaves a nice kind of a lip for the capping underneath, which is also realistic, and as I said in another video, it's not leaving you with that horrible flush joint that you want to avoid, both here and in real life. If you're building things, you don't want generally to have flush joints. So I'll just move that out, give us that nice lip, and then back to stamp, and I'll start chipping some of that away then. And that gives, I think anyway, that gives a really nice effect. Take a bit more that way. No, that's too much. You can see it there, just on this corner here, as that's coming up through. So I think that looks pretty cool. I'm gonna stick this stamp is going funny again. Let's do the samey. I'll take some smaller bits off on the outside as well. That just blurred up a bit. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to be texturing that. It might be no harm to take some of this away. That corner, as I was saying, that's a bit too thin, and also it actually looks a bit better there. I could do the same on that, just to take that kind of smooth. As I say, yeah, it's going to be, we're going to be adding textures on there, so it's not going to matter too much, but it just looks better there if it's not just a thin sort of a jaggedy line like that. Maybe some here as well. Yeah, really nice. It depends now, of course, on what sort of rock libraries you have. But for most of it here, I'm just using this same one here, this one that I have in my own library that I like. And as I said, the key, it depends, about not overdoing it. Just enough to break it up. Small, medium, and large kind of details. Maybe a bit on the corner there. Small, medium, and large details. And a kind of a combination. So that's not too noisy or too, like even that there, that looks a bit too kind of, it's in the center and it's the same length and it's the same shape nearly, so I nearly just break that up with put another one there beside it, just so it's not too consistent looking or too much of a pattern. And maybe one here. Yeah, so I think that's looking pretty nice there now. Maybe one more on the front here. And down here somewhere. And a smaller one maybe. That's looking not too bad. Kind of breaks up that edge as well. And maybe too much. Okay, that's not too bad there. Maybe a couple more of them. No, two. That's not too bad. Yeah, that looks okay. Maybe the first one was okay there. I'll just put the two smaller ones on this maybe. And one up here. And maybe there's that one there, that's at the bottom. That's at the bottom. Maybe put this in the middle. Right, so that looks pretty decent now. It's enough, but not too much. And for the floor here, I'm gonna use, what was I used again? Oh yeah, I wanted to show another. I'm gonna move on now. That's the kind of main chip and damage. I'm gonna move on to do some of the texture and detail now. So select the standard brush, and there's an alpha here. These are alphas that I've imported myself, my own, from some of them are real old, just displacement textures I have on drives. They work pretty well. So some of these ship. So for instance, this one is good for a kind of a crack. This one, it works well for a crack. You can turn off, rotate along, drag, and then you can sort of freehand it, and you can get nice nice kind of cracks. But what I'm going to use over here is I'm going to use that line constraint. The line constraint and this snap the surface, and then I found that I could get a pretty nice sorry, I'm on stamp, I think, on normal. What's happening here again now? Snap, align the brush, just brush remains. Oh yeah, I think I need to do that rotate along drag thing. And I have to be able to see the brush. Okay, that's weird. I was doing it before and it was working out quite well. Basically the idea here is, why is it leaving that other texture? The idea here is that this is like a concrete slab floor, but it's not just one big lump of concrete. It'll be slabs, precast slabs. So there'll be, say, 3 slabs together, and then that's the idea there with that. And so I'll put joints in them just to break up the surface there. So maybe I just want to see why is that happening. Normal, rotate long drag, snap the surface. Maybe this, I can't remember which one it was. Oh, sorry, this is going the opposite way to the brush, I think. It's hard to see there, but this seems to be going the opposite way to the brush. It's really hard to see. Yeah, it's 90 degrees there to the brush, so why is that happening? That should just... Oh, sorry, it keeps flicking around. I can't remember. I did it before and it seemed to work fine. So snap the cursor, rotate along drag, align the brush. And the front face is... Yeah, I'm not sure why. Oh, there we go. This should be it now. That's it now, yeah. I think it was that. Align the surface. So I'm trying to line this up and just freehand it. And now I should be able to go. Yeah, that looks good. Perfect, yeah. So that was the idea there, was to make sure this lined up. I'm just twisting my hand. And that is good. So that imperfection as well, I'm not worried about that, obviously. And then same again here, these lines are way too straight. So turn these off. So I just want to move them over a little bit, so make them more realistic. So they're not too straight. Give them a little bit of, and then also give the floor a little bit of up and down. And that's what I would generally do as well with all these. I'd go along, I'd move them all so that they're not perfectly straight. Let that droop down a bit, where the weight's kind of wants to drop it after the explosion. And all these little subtle sort of, it all adds up. It all adds up. Like I was saying earlier with it was that piece about the straight lines, the dead straight CG lines. They just look terrible. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. You could always just turn that to the side as if it's after being knocked off to the side by the explosion. And pretty good. These still have to get their the pass the trim dynamic pass, but I'm going to leave that for the moment, and move on to the texturing, because I think this has gone over an hour now. Just gone over an hour. So before I move on to the texturing, you saw earlier on, I have this library of rocks here, and then I'll just grab various rocks, maybe this one, lay it down. These are just rocks I have from years ago, just in a library that I just use for different projects. And then you can get a lot of variation out of them by just moving them around, all different scales, sizes. Like if you're building a game level, the same thing. From a couple of pieces of terrain, you can, or rocks or hills or whatever, you can build a whole level. So with this piece, I just want to check that. What's it at now? 254. Because I'll be placing them around the scene to keep the res down. You can go right down there like 40, and hardly changed at all. Like it's only 40, so could even go lower if you wanted it. Sorry, my throat is gone a bit funny. Yeah, and I'll just go in. You could build this up around these foundational pieces. The idea being that the bunker was built directly into bedrock on the hill to make the foundation way stronger. And or it could just be piles of rubble or whatever, and then you can get smaller ones then. So create this one here, and same again there. I'll just decimate that down from 200 odd thousand, and then you can just place some of these in just to break it up a little bit more, if some of those patterns are showing through. And then maybe that's a bit too samey. Then you can just grab some of these, then round the back, add some more piece of rubble, and so on. So I would do that then with, take these, I take these rocks then in piles, and then I'll just drop them all over the place, spinning my hand around. Then you could change them, different sizes, scale them up, scale them down, spin them around, and spend obviously more time than I'm spending. Creating something that looks a bit more natural. Or I know we're trying to do all this stuff in Shapelab, but you can also bring it into a 3D package or whatever and just do it, scatter it using physics to make it more kind of even natural. Like that looks like it. That's like a pattern there. So to me, that looks crappy, and it's still in line there. So I would just take them, maybe stack them up against that. Mix in some other rocks as well then. Change the scale a bit more, whatever. But yeah, spend, whatever time. When I start blending this landscape in with the texture, which I think I will actually do now. So that one is quite low poly, 196. So let me see what that gives us. Higher. See what that's going to be like now. Total count now is 18 million, so we're getting kind of high. But this ground, you definitely want to have a nice resolution on the ground here for the texture that I'm going to use, which will be this one. I like this one. Structured floor, and it's going to be stamp, and I'll whack the strength up for this. And you can see now nice large size and a bit of strength. That gives us a really nice pattern, and it doesn't even look like it's repeating because you can obviously blend them in and turn them at different angles, and then you don't know that it's just the same texture over and over and over again. Change the size. You could mask off the edge there so it doesn't affect that, but I'm not going to bother here. So that helps to tie it in there with all these rocks that we added as well, like, and then when that's printed out and painted. So I actually like this texture on a smaller scale to do this as well. Do these walls. I'll see now. So I'm going to use a kind of a local. That's 2.1 actually, so I mightn't even need to. Yeah, I still do. So I will do a local. Let me see, what is that there? That is that. That is that. I'm gonna join these together. So join. They are joined together, and now I'll just voxel remesh and see what that gives us. 3.1, 1.2, and go back again and raise that up a bit more, so in around, let's see, it's going to be 4.8. Gave us some weird stuff that's going on there. It's all holes in the mesh, so I'm going to go back there. I don't really like that, what happened there. Seems to be all weird stuff here going on. Maybe it's just a visual glitch. I'm going to try that again. I'll tell you what I'll do actually, even better. I'm just going to boolean these. Are these still together? Oh yeah. Did I boolean? No, I didn't boolean them together. So I'll go back. Now they're separate. And now I'll try to boolean them together. It mightn't work. Boolean. And reset the blue, pink, union. And you can see here working over here. No, it didn't work. So maybe it was asking too much. So what I would do there is, I just want to bring that in. Not sure why the voxel remesh didn't work. Basically what I want to do is join these together and get it, make this more smooth this so it looks like one large piece of poured concrete. Actually what I might do instead is just grab the stamp and just try and blend it in there that way instead. Same here on this side. See if it looks a bit better. Maybe that's a bit better. And then I'll just to blend these in here, I'm going to use the texture there, but I'm going to localize the texture using right, so that's our res there. I'm going to select the regularize tool and then the regularize tool, which is here. Stick that to absolute, turn that off, and set with this. Okay, I don't know what's happening. I didn't do anything there, so I'm not sure what's happening. Hopefully it doesn't crash because I didn't save this. It still seems to be. I think you can actually. Oh, there we go. I don't know what it was doing there. Oh, look, it was doing something weird. So I'll have to undo that. It was voxel remeshing to a weird low resolution. Okay, why did that happen? What was I even doing there? Let me see. Oh yeah, right. So I chose regularize. And we're on this, and I want to get higher res around here. So I set. Oh yeah, it must have picked the wrong thing. Right. So I'll set that as the res. set that as the res, and then it should be the same. Touch higher, so I'll come up then. I want to let me raise this up. That's very weird. Okay, I'm just smooth. That's weird. I'll turn this on, turn down the smooth, and then see what I get. So why is this happening? I don't know. On the regularize, that's really weird. It's turning off. Right, so that's higher. So let me see. I can even go higher. And then maybe that's too high. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe that's too high. And then if I go back to that standard brush, okay, that's a standard brush, and then have a look at I'm going to bring the strength up, I think, a bit more to that maximum. So what I can do there is in here and then hit the strength multiplier a bit more. So I'm just going to, the idea being here that this is showing the interior of the concrete where all the gravel and everything is. And then I can smooth this again. Give me more res. More res here. More res. And then use the texture. So same, I've copied that res, so I'll use that there as well. And also here. And here. Okay, that's okay. And also this. And maybe this. Right now I have my smooth brush. Turn off this wireframe. Oh yeah, and now I need to turn this off again so it's not doing it again. Okay, that looks pretty cool. I get onto this one now. And see that blends that in there now a bit better. Okay. And like you don't have to do this all over. You can leave breaks here and there, but for this, the interior of the concrete sort of makes sense that what's going on there. I'll just move that in there. It's kind of gone weird. And we're looking for, as we said before, for print, we're looking for that contrast. So not necessarily like we're never going to be this close looking at the actual texture detail. So we're just looking for that the contrast. So I think I mentioned in another video, always good to zoom out and see how it reads from a distance. Bring them up. You can see here where it bleeds over, but I actually think that looks good because it started to give an effect of sort of stress there in that part of the concrete. Don't think I added res there. Sorry, this is turned off. That's why that didn't work that time. So turn that on. Do it again. And then maybe here as well. Here. Here. Did I get that? Smooth that out. No, I'm not on that, I mean. I already got that. And there. Looks pretty good. That needs some res. Same for this. And you don't have to, I'm just doing this kind of for the exposed concrete parts. You don't have to go that tiny, but it's, as I said, it's all for how it reads from a distance. Right, so I wanted to show another sort of a simple technique, just using that standard brush, spray, and this alpha that ships with Shapelab. And it's just for these walls. You can use it on the flat concrete walls to give you a sort of a stucco kind of a look. So if I spray all this, I'm actually going to make that a bit bigger. Or did I use, was this, which one? I think that's the one that ships, and then I had my own one there. Oh no, it wasn't that one anyway. Yeah, it was the one that ships. This one. You can just spray all that. Now I'm going to just turn off this resolution again. Spray all the concrete. Smooth it out. Bring the smooth all the way up. Smooth it all out. And then just go over it again. And sort of leave patches. So some smooth, and it gives you a rough kind of a rough sort of a stucco look. And then, let me see. What you can do then is, if I clone that in place, you can just steel pieces then. You can just steel pieces. Really. And then get our rock out again to go around the edges, or even just more of a flat edge. Maybe chop that off. Maybe it's a bit too flat. What's this one like? The idea here was just to basically get a sort of as if a piece of that wall there, a bit as if a piece of that wall with the stucco on it there was blasted out, and wherever it happens to be sitting. Where was that piece there? So maybe whatever, stick it up like that. Oh, weird spiky stuff. And that doesn't. That part that doesn't look good. So maybe this, like this. And just cut that off. Does that look a bit better, maybe? Yeah, and then my favorite part, this actually could do with some more back to the stand to make that texture even bigger. Standard brush, stamp structured floors, that, yeah, and make that bigger. Make some of that detail a bit bigger there. Just a bit. And here, I think I'll do it here as well. I could have, or not could have, but should have. I should have, yeah, taken out that section of the wall there, but or even a section of that floor would have been perfect there to put flat on the ground here. But it doesn't really, it's not really a big deal. That combination is smooth there to give you the res, and then the brush. And now I believe it's time for the famous rebar, one of my favorite parts of the whole process. So I'll grab all these together and just scale them down to about 2 mil ish, and that'll do that. And then just start popping them around. I can then, sorry, that's the that was one of the ones I chopped, so it has the dodgy end on it. I'll just have these coming out. I'll swap some of these out then for the bent ones. Just pop them in and see. You can go to town with them if you want. And as I say, then you want to swap some out then for the different shapes. Maybe one up here, and here maybe, and whatever. Yeah, take more or less time or whatever you want to do there. And then what I always like to do is select the move, as I did with the rivets. I always like to put a little recess around anything like this, so that for painting, headset battery's low. For painting, you get that nice little pool of wash. Yeah, I think the other one I did that I lost the recording. I think it turned out better, I think. So yeah, I'll go around. Finish these. Some of these crazy spikes, like that's stuff. You just have to kind of watch some of this stuff. It's not going to print. It's way too crazy for the printer. I just went too mad there, and then those spikes that all show up as islands in the printer are just they'll fail to print. They'll drop off then into those crazy spikes. I just went a bit overboard on that. All them like to be 10 million different islands to support then. So just watch out for that. And what else? Where was I? Oh yeah, here. So some of these textures, like the slicer as well, it can read islands where there aren't islands that are going to cause issues. Well, usually on detail work or texture work, but some of this stuff here it's pretty crazy. Like it's pretty extreme. Not these, like if that they would print fine, but some of the stuff here, like really tiny little spikes sticking off into the middle of nowhere. They won't even. They'll be 0.0. They'll be thinner. They'll be basically thinner than a layer. Some of them, if you're printing at 0.05, so they won't even really print in some cases. So that's another thing to bear in mind. And what else I'm gonna do? It's gonna do another thing with. Oh yeah, just showing like you can either use this kind of stucco kind of effect, or you can just do marks or the traditional more traditional. Sorry, take that off. Go back to standard and choose that. See how high res this is. And we're on stamp, and then way too strong, way too weak. So yeah, that might make any sense there for this. So choose something maybe a bit flatter, just some bit of texture. Give that a bit of strength, and then just to give it a bit more texture. And it's still turned on. They're quite low res as well still. You can see all the triangles there, but just to give you an idea, get the idea. These are smearing across here, but it's not too bad. And then I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this is actually starting to. Well, that's snapping turned on there, is it? What brush am I on now? Standard. And turn off that snapping. Yeah, it's starting to slow down a little bit. I think I've reached that 20 million kind of limit, or not limit, but where you kind of start to notice a bit of difference in the performance. It's not huge. It's just tiny bit of lag, and files start to take longer to save. But we could also use that concrete texture here, make it a bit bigger. And yeah, I think that's, give it a bit there. These are displacement maps, remember, so you can see that. You just have to watch out for that as well. If it smears over the edge. No, it's not doing anything. Weird. Oh, there we go. Right, so I'm just barely touching that. Yeah, and you might want to leave some of them clean. You don't have to detail over the whole thing, but just to give a bit more texture for the dry brushing. And yeah, I think I will leave it at that. I think I'll leave it at that for. Why isn't that? That should be resetting back to 0. Global. Weird. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. Oh yeah, it was stupid idiot. I was on the wrong thing. Wrong object, just to reset the rotation. Push him in to the floor a little bit. Yeah, so that's. I think that's pretty much it then. Maybe you can look this way. Right, so I think I'm going to leave it then. This isn't obviously finished, but this gives you an idea of all the different techniques to use with the texture and the broken piece of rocks, the extra piles of rocks, the double sort of layer system like here where you can chip off and reveal the piece underneath, using stamps to break corners, using different techniques then to get different resolution. And yeah, this one's going on quite long, so oops, I think I will. What's going on there? Why isn't it? Yeah. I think I'll leave it at that then. And yeah, if I would probably mix this and the other one I made together to make a final model if I'm going to print this, but I will do the final print prep in ZBrush, so I don't know, people probably wouldn't be interested in that because it's a Shapelab setup, or Shapelab. It's the whole idea here. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully if anyone stayed around this long. Right, so I decided to add one final outro piece onto the video here at the end, if anyone has even watched this far. So I've given it one more pass there, and as you can see here, it's actually starting to lag a little bit now, but it's up to 32.5 million. So that's pretty decent. So that's 26,000 verts. So in ZBrush that would actually be just over 50 million. So it's pretty impressive here. Like it's only kind of starting to. The last large project I did was I got up to 20 million, and then I want to see how much further I could push it, I suppose. So yeah, this seems to be. It's still fine. Like, it can still work. It's only dropping a few frames, not even much. So this is very impressive. As a ZBrush shows everything in verts, so it's always double for triangles. Even though it's saying 11 million here. It's the other way around. It should be twice the amount. So that's quite impressive. I'm not sure where this number here is coming from. All objects. I'm going by the verts here because I'll be go Z and all this across the ZBrush. So yeah, that's interesting. I must actually ask about that. Actually, I think I'll just take a screenshot of that while it's here. Right, get that out of the way. So yeah, I went around final pass, and basically what I did, I just added more detail. I left some areas here clean, just to give a bit of contrast. So it's just not just pure noise all over the place, like the door, and you can see a little bit of wobbliness here added in on purpose. And I kept the door and these plates fairly clean. Same with the trap door, and along the face of these, I gave it a bit on the top, bit of weathering on the top, on the inside, but then left areas then clean as well for a bit of contrast. And that was pretty much it. And then the last step I did was, I had a look and said, right, the best way to break this up for printing. So looking at this, it's a large piece, so if you wanted the people to be able to print it on smaller printers, so you want to break it up into as many pieces. Not sure what happened there. That's a bit funny looking. I'll actually give that a bit of a trim. Keep edges. Maybe turn the strength down. Maybe that's a bit funny as well. Actually, I'll give it a smooth and a low setting first. Not sure how that happened. I'd say it was one of those displacement maps. Must have just smeared around the corner. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it is actually starting to get a bit laggy now. Maybe with the probably because I'm recording as well. It's getting a bit warpy here in my view, but that'll be fine. Like, it just looks like pitting when I come out there. That's fine. So yeah, what was I saying there? Yeah, so I went around then, and mainly I went in because I did all this real quick, and I just got rid of any, like I said earlier on, like, see these crazy spikes here. Turn up the smooth. I just came in and just softened off those spikes. So I just gave it a quick pass all over, just to take some of the spikes down. Like the likes of these will be fine. Maybe not these. See that? It's just well, it just won't print if it's too small. As I said in the other video, if it's smaller than your print layer, it'll be picked up in the next layer. So, but some of them, if they're caught between two layers with no oil in the tiny piece like that, it might just drop off into the vat. So it's best just to sort of just to get rid of kind of weird, especially ones that go out to a point like that. There is fine. These will all print fine, and because we'd be chopping this up, you can lay it out. Then you'd be laying it out from this will be tilted backwards, so all these will be sort of facing up in the air. So they'll be fine. They'll all be fine. Some of them I just tucked them in, went in, smoothed them off, and then I caught most of them. It only took a couple of minutes. The usual VR fly around and get as close as you like. Gave this a quick whack of smooth. That'll all be fine. And that was pretty much it. Then went in. There was a lot of spikes under this, so I just stuck that rock in there to catch them, so you don't have a lot of supports in there. It's not a big deal, but on a piece like this, because it's so noisy, you're not gonna be support scars. It's not like doing a miniature, like a clean miniature, where you don't want support marks all over the place. So for the chopping up, then that was that done. The cleanup was all done. All the sculpting was done. And I was happy then it was finished, and I said, right, the best way to chop this up, we want to chop the base, chop it into the base so it's perfectly shaped around the base, and then do a flat one, which is easy. It's just a straight flat boolean. So then one piece, you have to start looking at things like this. Pieces like this where, that's intersecting. So what I'll do before final, I'll just move anything back here. Like, I'll move these back a touch, just so they're not touching. and then I would boolean that into that first, and then boolean that back into that. Depending on, so you just, or you could slice, you could just go in here with this, the carve, and just trim out. So if I select that, you can see here, I can just trim it out. I'll do it more accurately than that if I was doing it properly, but you know, you're never going to see that. But it's just trimmed out away from that, so it's not in the way. And then the same with that, I could just move that out or trim it. Trim this, trim around the edge, just so it's not touching, or move it out, either. But you're never going to see it. And also, for a terrain piece like that, it's easy to just fill it in when it's getting painted or whatever. Just put some glue or whatever in there into the joint. So that's not a big issue. That's easy to solve. Another thing I did then, I decided, right, the best way to cut this up is to use these 4 corners. Look at the roof section first. Take it to here. You always look for clean cuts. So along this roof slash ceiling, that's perfect to cut the whole top off. So that will be, that one section there will be our boolean for this, and then this will be a boolean union onto this, and then we'll use these lines. Always look for lines to hide, so then we can cut that into 3 pieces. So basically from here, the only issue you'd have would be that line. If I had planned it out a bit more, I could have put the line in the middle here, and then I could have made this into cappings, so that when you slice it, you'll only really see a line there and there. But you know, it's not a huge deal, because you could chop that even in half, or maybe just put one line through there rather than putting a line there, and there. As I say, you could hide that if you had to design these as cappings, instead of a full cast concrete ring beam. You could still do that, like just put lines up there, joints, and wouldn't be a huge deal. So that's the way I'd cut that up, the top off. And then these, I moved these back in a tiny bit here just to leave a gap, and then that will be the key there. Cut that, then it's going to be getting cut here anyway, so that's just a flat cut. So that'll be cut there, and same all the way around. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that will give us then the whole roof section into its parts. Then each of these will be a section. So there's 1, and that's 2. You could even split that in half behind this and have that as its own piece as well. Key that into there, and take these rocks as part of it, or just slot it into the rocks, leave the rocks in the base. So that would be 1, 2, 3, say 4, 5, 6, 7, and then that could be one piece. 8, 9. Yeah, you'd have 9 there with the extra one there and there, or 10. And then that would make all the pieces small enough to fit into a printer. The inside, we don't care about. Never be seen. The likes of those weird spikes, I wouldn't even mind them. They're facing up. And same with the likes of these. Maybe actually these, just give them a tiny little touch of smooth, just to be, it doesn't really matter, but just to be on the safe side. And that's how we would do that. Yeah, cut that there on the 4 corners each side. Cut the whole top of the roof off from underneath this floor section. Trim around them to give a bit of clearance. Then you'll have the base, and then the base would be too big as well, so you'd probably want to just slice the base. You'll probably have a joint, but that'll be the best place. You'll only have a small joint there, small joint there. You could even cut it around these rocks, or you could decide to take these rocks and rubble as their own piece, and key them out with the base as well, and then you could actually use them for scatter terrain as well. So there's different ways of doing it. Usually I'd plan it out as I go, but I didn't while I was making this. But I kind of knew at the end, because we have so many straight lines, that you'd be able to cut it up, and you might just have to sacrifice a few pieces here and there. You could even design the base, so you could cut it up. You could just, but it's not too bad there, because I said you'll only have a line there and there. That's still quite a large piece. And then I suppose you'd have a piece from there to there on the inside. Or else I would just maybe just probably make the base smaller even. If I had to do it for a particular printer, like sometimes if I'm doing jobs for companies that I do work for, they'll say, right, this has to print on this size printer, and then in advance at the very start you'll design the piece to that size to make sure when you do your keys and cuts that each individual piece will fit on the bed of, say, a small printer, like I don't know, a Frozen Sonic Mini or something like that. And then you'll do all that in advance. But when you're doing it for yourself, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you like. So yeah, I just thought I'd add that bit of an intro or a bit of an outro video to a long video. So thanks to anyone that stuck around, and hope it wasn't too boring, that they enjoyed it, because I definitely enjoyed making it, and had a lot of fun there, as I always do in VR. All right then, cheers, thanks, good luck.